Hey, it's Thursday, which means we're thinking like entrepreneurs, and today we're going to talk about what makes the successful really successful. Hey, it's Erin Smith with the Starters Club, and welcome to Think Like an Entrepreneur Thursday, where we discuss the mindset shift of going from an employee to an entrepreneur. And today I want to talk about success because so many people want to be an entrepreneur. They want to start their business, but they get caught up on this thought that they need to be the most brilliant person in the world. They need to know everything. And they stop and they never go out there because they're too afraid of thinking that they just don't have all the answers or they don't know it all. So we talked about like what you do once you have an idea, but today I specifically want to talk about 3 principles that every successful person has. And it's not about being brilliant. It's not about being the hardest worker under the sun, which is very helpful, but it's about 3 very main points that I think are crucial for the success of not just your business, but really, truly yourself in life. So first of all, learning to embrace fear. This was something I really started taking on a couple years ago. Even though I've been an entrepreneur for a while, I always played it safe. I had some toes, dipped in the corporate world so I could invest more money, but I was always kind of not going all into my business. And one of the best things I learned was to embrace fear. And how I learned how to gauge that was when I really, really, really wanted to do something, but I was afraid, and I almost like the more I want to throw up, the better gauge it is, because I really want to do it. I really want to throw up, and I know I'm going to have massive regrets if I never take that chance. Jumping through that has taught me every single time the other side isn't so scary. In fact, it's pretty amazing because you look back and you're like, God, that wasn't so bad. And how I get through fear, this is my general rule of thumb, is when I'm about to do something and I'm really scared and I don't know if I want to do it, I go to my worst case scenario. So last year, or this past year, I did the Entrepreneur Summit. It was my first event. I've never done an event before, and I'm like, okay, let's go worst case scenario. So worst case, no one shows up and I lose X amount of money. Am I okay with this? If this happened in my life right now, would I be okay with this? And the answer was yeah. And I'll tell you, standing on the other side of that summit, not only was I successful, I didn't lose the money, people showed up, it was fantastic, but what was on that other side was so much more than I ever could have imagined in the first place. So not only was it cool to get through fear, but it was more amazing than I ever would have dreamed. Same, last year I wrote a book. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna write a book. And I was really, really, really scared. I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, one person's going to read it and that I don't know, and they're going to leave a horrible review, or nobody's going to read it. It was kind of a tie. And you know what? Somebody did give me a 1-star review. It was one person, and it was okay because I had 40 other 5-star reviews that completely outweighed it. So, you've got to go to the worst case. If you're okay with what the worst case is, you have to do it. You have no choice. So learn to embrace fear. And I'm going to tell you, not only is it going to be amazing starting a business, but your life is going to change. The other key, number 2, is that they take risks. God, so many of us play it safe. We play it safe in life. We do what we know, and we never take a risk on ourselves. We take this risk, we go to college, we get a job. I just talked to somebody recently the other day, and she's in school, and she's like, I love to do video, but I'm just going to go into pharmaceutical because I can get a job out of the gate. And that is just the start of safe for the rest of our lives. We have to take risks, not only on ourselves, and I'm not saying bet everything on a business or a career, but be willing to risk in yourself and be willing to put some on the table, because when you have something at risk, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be a lot more prone to follow through. It's not that successful people are like, oh, I got this brilliant idea and it was smooth sailing. They risked a lot and they worked their butt off to figure out how to make a difficult situation better. Or, maybe they went up against a wall and they figured out how to get around it. It wasn't about being the brightest or the best idea. It was about pursuing through it all. And the more you have risked, the more you have at risk, the more you're going to pursue. It's just as simple as that. So you're not going to give up. I see too many entrepreneurs, when it's not easy, just give up. So if you put some on the line, hopefully that's a push to make you risk it all. And the third is they are constantly growing. I'm so embarrassed to tell you this, but there was a part in my corporate world where I bragged about being able to do it in my sleep. And, I knew it. I did well at it. It was super, super easy for me. And I wasn't growing. Now, granted, I was growing. I was building businesses. So in that case, I was growing. But in my corporate job, I didn't want to take on more responsibility because I was working my businesses. But it was like this bragging moment for me where I was like, yeah, I can do this in my sleep. I could bill. There's one time I literally said I could get this done in 5 hours. And they were like, but you have 20. I'm like, but I can do it in 5. And they said, but you have 20. Just take 20. I'm like, all right, I'll take 20. But it's games like that of just coasting. If you are coasting in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to be successful. So are you growing? Are you pushing yourself? A great rule of thumb is the average person reads 1 book a year. And you've got CEOs, entrepreneurs typically read about 60. It's a big difference. So what are you doing? And again, it doesn't have to be business related. It doesn't have to be business related. But what are you doing to grow? Are you stuck? Are you coasting? If you are, my God, just do something. Find something that interests you and start to study it and get involved. So don't get stuck on this thought that you're not enough to be successful. If you're willing to take a risk, if you're willing to get out of coasting mode and learn something new, and if you're willing to embrace fear, 3 very not hard things to do. You have to train yourself to do them, but life and your business or anything that you want to do will completely transform for you. You just got to get out and do it. So if you want, I would love to hear from you. If you want to comment below, tell us what you're going to take on. What's the fearful thing you're taking on? What's the thing you're about to risk? Or what are you going to learn today? I mean, something simple as what are you going to learn about today can transform your life. And thanks always for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. This is Erin Smith of the Starters Club, where I believe everyone's got it in them to start a business. You just got to get started.